Alright, we're live. We're live. What's up, boys and girls? Let's see what's on Hacker News today. Oh, egg whites can be transformed into a material capable of filtering microplastics. Really? How the Apple archive ended up at Stanford. Okay, this one I'm kind of interested in. Apple's records he sent over to when he returned to the company in 1997 and decided the new Apple he intended to build would be so forward-looking it could get rid of its museum. Okay, interesting. The company's corporate archives. Wow. Interesting. Now, why would he do that? Why would he give Stanford the corporate archives? That's quite a... Okay. He's saying that this is a misnomer. Alright. He did not offer it... Okay. So here's how it actually was created. Alright, interesting. Let's see what we got here. A real archive would contain records produced by Apple's course of business, kept together as proceeded, but traditional course. Fast-paced world, you can't really contain records that well, especially in a physical copy. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. In business 5 years, R&D decided they need to centralize research effectively. Okay. Give Apple a competitive advantage by providing information. Sure. So they all got the historical information of Apple, and then basically curated by a professional librarian. All right, this absolutely makes sense now. Okay, so then where does this actually lead to? In fact, many of the historical products were gathered in an archival version of Dumpster. Okay. So basically this is like the Apple archive of like, oh yeah, we're going to index all of the information about Apple that worked when we were at Apple. Okay, fine. This is basically for all the Apple employees and whatnot to use. I guess it's like the equivalent of like the End Wiki or whatever. I think that's pretty much it. Oh wait, hold up. Let me share the, what's it called? Link. I think my bot actually kind of missed out sharing it out. So hold up. Give me a sec, guys. Let me share this. Let me share the link out. All right. Okay, so Apple most fraught years of existence, and turned out it's the CEO. Okay, then. All right. Okay, so yeah, if you're familiar with Apple history, Steve Jobs founded the company, got kicked out, then came back. And then he laid off 1/3 of the workforce. Jesus Christ. That is brutal. But I guess that's not too dissimilar from what's happening today. Interesting. Okay. Everything he had ordered to clear everything out of the warehouse and shut it down, and the deadline was 24 hours. If they wanted the box, they had to come get it. All right. We were greeted by scenes of rolling off furniture and yellow atmosphere. This was what it looks like when a company's collapsing. All right. What is this? You didn't want to see the library and hosted him for a tour. The engineers do this research. They should already know that. Wow. Okay, they're dumped at the library. Apple Library would be shut down. The entire staff laid off. Interesting. That the Apple Library was closed. Condolences came in from Microsoft library staff. Okay, so looks like back in the day, tech companies actually had like a library for their own internal archives. Hey Justin, what's up? Obvious that if we would leave the collection to Apple, no one would take it on, as there's no guarantee it wouldn't be destroyed. Okay, so this is basically the life cycle of engineering documents, actually. Suddenly, it doesn't like the idea of old stuff laying around. Interesting. If you want to know how the Hewlett-Packard Company archives was saved during... Okay, read my 2020 article. I might actually read that after this. Okay. Backup plan has always been to donate to Stanford. All right. but to get rid of our collection history, show about the Apple. Okay, Stanford accepted the donation. Okay, they didn't. First of all, he didn't know the history collection existed, and he was known not to be a fan of history. Interesting. So they had to basically get Steve Jobs to actually sign off on this before donating the Apple archive to Stanford. Okay. And then there's an October 31st deadline, and okay, that's fair. So the task waited to get this fell on library director, who still reported in R&D. Managed to get it to her new VP to sign off on it. All right, cool. The pinks, okay. The Apple collection gathered by reflects what amounts to the Apple Crusade as led by Steve Jobs. Stanford is proud to have received this well-organized and complete collection of Apple story to date. Interesting. You know what? I would actually not mind taking a peek into these one of these days, you know, into the Apple archives. It would basically be like everything pre-Apple before 1997 and whatnot, but I feel like there'd be a lot to learn there. I wonder how to actually get into those archives. So if anyone watching is like from Stanford and, you know, can get me into this, I'd really appreciate that. You know, I'll just tweet this one out. Oh wait, I'll have to log in. God damn it. Alright, anyway, people want to chat along. I mean, I'm here a little bit early today. So I'm hoping that people can, like, you know, ask me some questions or whatnot. I do have a conference that I need to attend next week, so this will be like the last stream for a while. In fact, this might be the last stream for the year. I'm not quite sure yet. I might do one or two before the end of the year is out, but to be honest, I don't really know. Okay, can you tell us about the conferences that you've been attending? Oh yeah. So I briefly mentioned this on like a previous stream, but basically, I've been attending mostly developer productivity conferences, and so the last one I went to was in SF. It was the Greater Productivity Conference, right? And so basically, the idea was to be able to take all the developers from different, you know, companies and whatnot that were responsible for developer productivity and then put them in a single conference, right? So these would be things like your IDE, your containers, your remote cloud execution stuff. You know, you're basically taking any developer tool that you might be using and you're not really thinking about, like your IDE or language tooling, and then being able to see how they work at scale. How do you keep developers productive at scale? It's one thing to do it like, oh, local machine, compile, move on, right? But then you have to deal with all these other things, not just tooling, but also CI/CD, and then being able to monitor those developers as well. But it's an incredibly niche field that I think only maybe about a ballpark, like 10 or 15 companies in the world really deal with. But it's like so super niche and super specific that it actually pushes the boundaries of what's possible and it actually creates innovation for the rest of the developer ecosystem. A very good example of this is actually the scalability of Kotlin. You know, you have this this is what I call a chasm, right? Where you have like 90% of developers on Kotlin, and then the last 10% are like the big tech companies. So the question is, how do you cross that? Well, you basically need to make Kotlin work at scale. And actually, there's like a few JetBrains tickets floating around about how the Kotlin compiler and plugins and whatnot, the ecosystem surrounding it, just doesn't scale that well once you start hitting multi-million line code bases. And so that's the nature of the conferences I've been going to, is like trying to see what the industry is doing and what Uber's doing. And I'm gonna throw a little shout out to Uber here. Actually, I generally don't speak very much about like my current employers. I usually only talk about employers that are in the past. But I think Uber just does developer productivity better than anyone out there. I can safely say that. I think like our goal of being able to be the industry standard for these developer productivity stuff and developer tooling, and be basically, hey, how did Uber do this? I think that's a very noble goal, and it's one that I can wholeheartedly get behind. I think because of that, we've been able to do a lot in this field and have a lot of representation and be able to influence the direction of the industry a lot. And so BazelCon is really just a conference hosted at Google in NYC that is very specifically focused on Bazel itself. For those of you who don't know it or haven't watched my last video, Bazel is basically Google's build system for hermetic builds. So you think of like when you are building something on your computer and it passes, and then another guy says, wait a minute, why is it failing? Oh, I don't know, it works on my computer. You're basically, Bazel's trying to get rid of that basically, but also do it very quickly. That's basically the long and short of it. And so we're migrating our code base from Buck to Bazel. And so a lot of the conference is going to be trying to see the intricacies of what we may have missed. Have you ever considered going to grad school? Yes, and I hate school, dude. I really, really do not like school. The closest I would ever do would probably be like an MBA, but that would be like an 18-month thing, not a 24-month thing. I would basically just want to get in, get out as soon as humanly possible. But even then, if I really wanted to, I could just get a CFA. That might also be an option in the cards for me. Oh, by the way, well, I have still 5 minutes. I'm gonna play Nessa and Dormia. Hold up. Now why am I playing this? Hold up. Hold up. This is great. This is why. God, it's so beautiful just to watch it. I mean, the Schadenfreude, it really gets to me, man. What can I say? And I guess for people who don't know, I really have not been a fan of this crap. Actually, look at the meme stops too. I've been eating so much shit in fucking conversations over Beanstalks and crypto for the past year and a half. And I'm like, that's all I gotta say, man. Ness and Dorma. The song's called Ness and Dorma, by the way. I think there's actually a few renditions of it, actually. But I think either Andrea or Lucanio actually does the best renditions of it. Anyway, so that's all I gotta say on crypto, man. I've been eating shit from the community for the last year and a half, and now I'm just like, what's that quote again? Charlie Munger, God is getting just. That's all I can say. Hold up, there has. Yeah, this is a good one. I'm just gonna keep this up here, man. Hey, look, and if you guys want, man, like, you can just say, hey, Charlie Munger says this, not me. But yeah, no. Well, for one, I didn't really like the quote unquote asset. I just could never see what you could buy with it. Like, I know everyone says like, oh yeah, go to Japan, you can buy stuff with crypto. It's like, yeah, very small amount of people. You can buy like some very small things, but the transaction's completely liquid. It takes like what, 10 minutes to clear a transaction, and you pay $100 of fees, and people are like trading it and getting. I think what really pushed me over the edge was really just people trading it, having no idea what they're doing, and then proclaiming themselves to be experts on this shit. And that really pissed me the fuck off, actually. And then the moment I saw that, I'm just like, oh god, I hope like this and the meme stocks all crash and burn to the ground. I admittedly, it's not so much the fundamentals. I mean, the fundamentals were a big part of it, but also like being able to just have like this little moment. It's music, man. That's all I can say. It's just fucking music to me. Well, I will say, maybe it's too early to call it dead, I'm willing to give the naysayers a chance. If crypto comes back in the next year or something like that, let's say, I don't know, let's be fair to them. Bitcoin was at 60. Let's say if it comes back to like 45, 40-ish? Yeah, let's say 40. I'll take this back. Let's give it a year, I'm just waiting. So with that, let's bring my client on. I mean, it'll come back. Okay, if it comes back, it comes back, right? But wake me up when it does. I got things to do with my life, man. Okay, let me. Hello?
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Edward. How's it going?
Hey, doing good. How did your practice go?
It went well. I did some DSA and system design. For the system design, been practicing that idea of flow and just starting simple and basically going with your instinct, right? So I looked at some previous streams from previous clients, and I attempted 2 problems there. One was the Foursquare check-in, and another one was design Facebook Marketplace. So for those, I felt it went well. I got pretty far there. For the Foursquare, I did have a key because he showed it after the client did the problem. But for the Facebook Marketplace, I didn't have a key, so I was wondering if you have that somewhere.
Yeah, let me dig that up.
Yeah.
But how about when you actually looked at your problems? I know that was a very big issue last time, when you weren't doing you weren't being very complete with your practice and looking at the answers. How did that go?
Yeah. So that went well.
Dude, I get. I'm smelling bullshit right off the bat. Just to let you know.
No. So I did do the problem, the queue with how are you going to implement a queue with a Max API, right? I did have some questions on that regarding the amortized runtime, right?
Sure.
Because to go to the more optimal solution, right, which is all at one time, the book uses 2 different problems. It mixes implementing a queue with 2 stacks, right?
Okay.
And then it does and then it implements a stack with a Max API, right?
Okay.
In one of these problems, the book says that the runtime is going to be O of M, right?
Okay, hold up.
This
hold
is
up.
for
Let me
implementing
get you
the
the Facebook Marketplace one first before we talk about this. I'm not fully paying. I only caught half of that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I wrote all this down in the prep doc, so yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay. Yeah. Okay, guys, I see. Oh no, okay, this is a cron job scheduler. God. Ugh. Damn it. Where'd it go?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm
looked
gonna
through
get
the
it. I'm gonna get it
Discord.
for you later. I just saw it
Okay.
and just like it disappeared.
Okay, no problem.
All right.
Okay.
Give me 60 seconds. Hold up. Okay. Tweet. Yeah, I just saw. Fuck. Facebook Marketplace. I don't have. Yeah, I don't have it actually. Looks like I don't have it. No. All right, whatever. Let me see the other one you got going.
Okay. So, yeah, so the other one I did was a square check-in, right?
Okay, so you want me to I can take a look at that. Okay, that down. Oh, wait, why is it so big? Oh, this you're doing the problem. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, my internet's not exactly the best here, so it's gonna take some time.
Okay.
All right. Do you have another problem that we can look at while it's downloading?
Yeah, I did 2 system designs for this session.
Okay.
So yeah, it's about the same size. Yeah.
Okay. Did you do any data structures and algorithms problems that you want me to look at?
Um, let, I didn't record it, but I did do it here on my problem log and on my diary. This is let me see what's in the prep doc. This is row 192 on the practice diary.
Okay, row 192 in the practice diary.
And let me link you the problem log there.
Okay, so Google Sheets. Hold up.
This is page 7. It starts.
Okay, so row 192, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay, still loading the page for me. Okay, so give me the gist of the problem. Do you have at least the problem sheet for it?
Yes, I sent it over on Zoom chat.
Oh, you sent it over on Zoom chat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 170.
Yeah, page 7 or 8. Sure.
Is it 190 what? Hello?
It's row 192. Hello?
Row
Can you hear me?
192, okay.
Row 192 on the diary.
Okay, row 192. Okay, so implement a queue with max API. All right, I see it. And what page?
Page 7, 8 on the problem log.
Okay, let's see. All right. So implement a queue with the max API. All right. So what are you trying to do here? What's the question? What's the problem?
Okay, so if you go down to the delta, my main question here is how is this O of one time, right? Since this problem, for the more optimal solution, it consists of the combination of the two problems, right? One is you implement a stack with the max API, and then the other problem is implement a queue with two stacks.
Okay.
So implementing a queue with two stacks, that the book says it runs in O of m time. But then here, for this solution, it combines both those problems, stack with max and implement a queue with two stacks. And then it says O of one time, amortized time. So that's what's really tripping me up here. I don't know. I understand what the amortized time is, right? It's an operation that rarely happens, right? For example, you're adding
It's not
to
rarely
array,
happens. Amortized should be average.
Average? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so my next question is like, how is this O of one time, right? If in one of the solutions the book said it's O of m time, I guess my reasoning for there, I just couldn't understand.
That doesn't
even
sound
the
right.
book
There's
says
no way you would ever. So if you think about iterating, implement a queue with two stacks, you're basically have to iterate through the queue. You have to iterate through the entire stack just remove one item from the queue. That would never be constant time. So there's no reason why. So there must be some misunderstanding here.
Okay.
So let me open up the book. Okay, max API. All right, it's a challenge problem, right?
I'm sorry?
It's a challenge problem?
It's in the Q chapter.
Okay, it's in the Q chapter. I'm looking right now.
If you search for
implement a stack with max API. I already searched for max API. It didn't work. I have to do by page number. I don't know what's wrong with the PDF.
What about? Okay, implement a queue with max API.
Yeah. Okay, I see implement a stack with max. Okay, I got it. One page 144. Okay, page 144. Let's see what we got. Okay, so brute force track the current maximum. Yeah, sure. That's fine. Max has you updated on InQ and DQ. Update the current maximum on Q fast. However, updating the current maximum on DQ is slow. Okay, so order end time, yeah. So you basically have two queues. And then you would basically go back and forth between NQ. So you NQ and then you DQ, fine. Yeah, okay, so you basically keep track of global maximum and then you will put everything into a DQ in order to find the next maximum once you remove that first element from the queue. Okay, that's fine. Considered elements S in the queue is property that entered in the queue. All right. Since S will be DQ'd before B, S can never be in the future become stored in the queue regardless of NQ. The key to a faster implementation with Q with max is to eliminate elements S from consideration. We do this by maintaining the S of entries Q that have no later entry in Q greater than the separate DQ. Okay. Elements in DQ will be ordered by the position in the queue, with the candidate closest to the head of the queue appearing first. Since each entry in the DQ is greater than or equal to its successor, the largest element in the queue is at the head of the DQ. Alright, what the fuck does that mean? If the queue is DQ'd, and if the element is just DQ'd is at the element's queue's head, we pop the DQ from its head. What the fuck? Okay, so let's see. Let's look at the example to try and figure this fucking thing out. NQ1, DQ, DQ, NQ2, DQ, DQ. Okay, NQ1, and then you DQ. Okay, so you NQ1 and on DQs. Okay, so this first one is your starting point. You NQ1 here into both NQ and DQ, and then the Q and D gets DQ'd here. The 1 and 3. What? So then the Q gets DQ'd? I cannot read or understand this. The example doesn't make sense and the wording doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so that second queue, they treat it as a queue and then they treat it as a stack as well. That's the confusing part. For example,
the explanation is dog shit. It's complete dog shit here. Let me read it again.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's like I can't even figure it out. So I'm like, what the fuck?
Okay.
Okay. The key to
faster. So after this one,
let me finish reading it. Hold up. Let me try again. The key to a faster implementation of a queue with max is to eliminate elements like S from consideration. Okay. We do this by maintaining the set of entries in the queue that will have no later entry in the queue greater than them in a separate queue. Okay, so you maintain maximum elements such that elements after them will not be greater than them. Okay, fine. That's why the DQ is descending. So elements in the DQ will be ordered by their position in the queue. Okay, sure, with the candidates closer to the head first. Okay, so you basically keep a descending order in the DQ. That's it. Since each entry in the DQ is greater than the equal to its successors, the largest element. Okay, I get it. Interesting. Okay, now I understand the problem. Holy fuck. I really wish they wouldn't be so fucking wordy about it.
Yeah. So like in the first example there, like if a 50 comes at the very end, it's gonna pop off all those elements in the second queue, or it's gonna treat it as a stack, right? It's gonna pop off all those elements and then it's gonna enter 50 there. So yeah, it's the wording was off there.
I see.
Yeah, so after that solution, there's another alternate solution that they provided. That's the one that tripped me up there, and that's where most of this delta came in, all those questions there.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So you did the delta with the first one, right?
I did it with the second one, because for the first one, my idea was there. That's the idea I had, is to have two queues, right? And you would pop off all the elements, right? If they're less than your... from your map.
Okay, so you at least got the first solution. The first solution seems to be one that's listed as optimal. So I'm honestly happy with that. Okay, let's look at the second one. Okay, this alternate solution is to often present it with reduction. Specifically, we know how to solve the stack with max problem efficiently, and we also know how to model a queue with two stacks. So we can solve the queue by modeling a queue with two stacks with max. Okay, yeah, it feels unnatural. Fuck it. I'm gonna say ignore it. Literally, this approach feels unnatural compared to the one presented above. It's not worth learning.
Yeah, okay. Good to know.
Okay. Looks like it's done downloading. But at least if you got the first answer in a reasonable amount of time, I'm not too displeased.
Okay. Yeah, so the other question on the honors chapter, it actually implemented the second solution, so I'm like, damn, what the hell? How am I gonna get this? It's freaking so unnatural. Like, it's like, how do you have something that's O of n, move all the way to O of one time, right? So yeah, it's a really hard problem.
The moment it says it feels unnatural, that means that you have to be some kind of fucking brilliant genius to get it. And we're not trying to be genius here. We're just trying to be logical.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Okay, so let me take a look at your Yelp Foursquare design. Okay, it looks like it downloaded, so... Okay, let's see what you got for me. Okay, so you're an Excel draw. Oh, wait, hold on. I think I have VLC installed on this computer. No, I don't. I have to go to QuickTime. Fuck it. Alright, yeah, fine. You start Yelp, design Yelp Foursquare checked in. User should be able to check into a business. Owner, CAP. Alright, fine. Okay, so you're doing estimations, check into a business to see nearby places, review, ratings, whatever. Nice to have at the end. Okay, yeah. You describe basic functionalities, functional, non-functional requirements. Okay, I see. And remember, when you're doing this, you need to be you need to pay attention to what the most important thing is. Because I'm looking at this and I noticed you basically spent like basically a minute and a half doing math calculations.
Yeah.
That's a
So
go ahead.
So I wrote that in the delta is next time focus on the most important part for these calculations.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You can only really judge it based on like the result that you get. You could, if you look at the overall grand scheme of things, and if this was a very high payoff, like oh it spawned a bunch of like problems for me to answer, then this is a good step, you know. But then if it says, oh, I got led astray, they have to ask yourself whether or not the step you took here was reasonable. Was it worth spending this amount of time on it? And if it was reasonable and I spent too much time, could I have been faster? You know, it's like the estimations, right? It's like using solid like 100 million check-in lines, stuff with like zeros at the end, is always a better estimation. There's not too much of a difference between 25 and 33 either, so it's fine. Okay, so you're basically trying to see number of check-ins, number of businesses, and number of reviews. Okay, this is probably not worth harping over. Fine. Let's see how you grow it. Okay, so you go here, business. So you basically, okay, that's fine. Application server, and then you start very basic. Fine. Yeah. You. Okay. Click. Okay, so you basically have a business search. You have two flows, right? One is searching for the list of businesses that are close to your location, and then being able to click on a business and see one review, leave a review after check-in. All right, I think this is perfectly reasonable for the route you want to take. Okay, check-in should be added. Okay, the thing is that now, how do you want? The next thing is that you are representing the check-in. Let me see your schema again. Check-in is a business, date, time, and user ID, right?
Correct.
Okay, because it says user FK, and I'm like, or I don't know what the hell that means.
Oh, foreign key. Yeah, it should just been user ID.
Yeah, just user ID is fine. Okay. Which implies that you have a user ID and whatever. Okay, you don't have to populate it. I think that's perfectly okay. Okay, so you're gonna keep this in a separate database. The question now becomes, well, if you're gonna use check-in as like a SQL database, the check-in needs to have its own ID. That's gonna be something interesting that you're gonna. I mean, SQL database is fine actually. That you need to be able to justify it, and it's like why? Because we're only really interested in joins on like on a single business. It's fine. So you can just make an argument by excluding other shit. So yeah, should we add database? Eventually, we don't want to exhaust our database resources. So we divided essential presence so we can take this hit. Okay, so now that you said you decided to get rid of consistency for availability and partitioning, which means that not all shards that you have, this is like in reference to sharding, right? Not all shards you have are going to be saying the same thing. So the question now is whether or not that check-in is core. So you say it's core, so it should be consistent. You should be able to read the same data, so it doesn't have to be super up to date. Because you can I'm guessing your reasoning at the top is that you can tolerate like a few seconds delay for check-ins.
Correct.
Okay,
yeah.
That's fine. All right, so now you're scaling up the system. What did you identify as the bottleneck here?
Let's see. So I'm looking at the Scala drop because I can't see your screen, right?
1948.
What? 1948.
Yeah, because I see you make a jump to scaling. I'd share my screen, but the problem is that my internet in this Airbnb is not exactly the best.
Okay. So 1948. Let me pull that up. Let's see. Okay. 1948. 1 second. Okay, where it says this should scale, right? Similar to an
Yeah.
online.
So check-in should be added to database eventually, so we don't exhaust all our database resources. And then I see you draw a line from application server to check-in service. I'm wondering, why did you decide to bring this in now? What exactly are you scaling against? Because remember, when we say there's an inefficiency, you're scaling against a problem. What's the bottleneck here?
I see. Yeah. So my reason for that was to have like the single responsibility principle, right?
Okay.
If I just go through the route of the application server, this
Okay.
is going to hit my database every time, right? With an update service, you can delay the check-ins to the database, right? Through your messaging queue. You can update your database at whatever you specify, like, right? Every 30 seconds, every 10 minutes or so, right? So yeah, my reasoning to take it out directly from hitting the database is to better is to have a update service, right? This will better handle you going straight to the database every time, right? At least with the update service, I can alleviate the load, right?
Okay. Well, I understand. You're basically saying you want to batch the requests by the tolerance, and then reduce the number of propagations. That way, you don't have to keep hitting database. So the way the SQL database, this involves a little bit of like how the SQL database works, right? Because where you basically read and write by rows, and you're basically just adding them, and then when you add something, you still open up the reads. So this involves a little bit of like what your how database works, but for the most part. Again, I understand where you're going for here. We assume there's going to be a lot of check-ins, and you want to be able to manage your throughput. That's fine. You scale... See, the easiest thing in my mind is literally to shard the database first, and then come up with this. I don't mind this.
Okay.
But eventually you will have to deal with the database itself. Because batching means that you think that the amount of load is enough that you can just like put delays between them. And that does affect writes. But then what about reads? How does that?
I think your writes will slow down, right? I see what you mean there. Yeah.
Yeah, the batching doesn't benefit writes that much because you can always do an append only. No one really deletes their check-ins in the past.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
by sharding, how would you shard it? Because you mentioned that point there.
Yeah, because if you think about like the way check-ins work, right? You mostly are going to be reading a lot, and I think you call this out, right? Yeah, like you have 100 million check-ins per month, but then most people are going to be looking at those check-ins themselves, I would imagine.
Exactly. Yep.
So then now you would have to shard it based on like you have like 100 to 1 read-write ratio, and so because you have two options, right? You have leaderless, and whatnot. That's gonna be up to you, but I would say given the amount of imbalance, I would say probably like master slave is okay.
Okay.
Because if you did it
sets.
Go ahead.
Huh? It's like sending all the reads to the replicas, right, and the writes to the leader, right? That's the cursor you're saying.
Yeah. Because the problem is that if you send writes, then eventually it will propagate over. But then what's the point of making it available if you decide to abandon consistency?
I see. Yeah. That makes sense.
It's like you can do a consensus protocol and whatever, but honestly, I'm not too opinionated on it. You need to be able to explain the difference, though. All right. So anyway, okay, I get what you're doing now. You're saying, okay, let's go work on search. Okay. Okay, this is you explaining how to group the businesses by latitude, longitude, and group them within a mile radius. Okay, that's fine. Well, you have a check-in cache. Now you have another cache. What's this another cache?
Let me see.
I'm on 40 minutes.
That's the end. Okay. Let's see. me see. It only goes up to 39.
Okay, because I see here you have a check-in cache that points to another cache in front of user, business, review, and check-in. So I'm a little confused here.
Let me find that one. Hold on, I lost it. Sorry. Let me open it up again.
Okay, that's fine. Take your time. I'm at the timestamp 40 minutes and 33 seconds.
40 minutes. Okay, 40 minutes. I see. Yeah. The check-in cache, that's just to optimize reading. Yeah, I guess the arrows are wrong there. That's just to optimize the check-in number, right? So when you're listing a business, you can get those right away. That was my reasoning behind that one.
Okay. So but you have a cache pointing to a cache, so that should actually be the same cache, right? Or is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah. Shit. Yeah. So what I argued for this cache was to have like nested data, like the business. It would have all your check-ins and then your reviews, right? So when a user is searching for businesses, they're able to see those top 20 results, for example. And if they keep paginating more and more, right? If they end out of the cache, they would then hit the database at that point. But yeah, it should be one cache there.
Yeah, okay, I see. It's a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me take a look. Okay. I get what you're trying to do here. I think the explanation could be better here.
Okay. Is that something too complicated to do? Or
so
yeah, I guess
what you're doing is you're trying to pre-populate recommendations, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
It's a little difficult. The reason why, let's suppose
yeah,
that on my users, on one hand, you can make the argument that because Yelp or check-ins are going to be more likely to happen in cities, then by the network effect, you would basically want to populate around, let's say, San Francisco, New York, and Dallas, versus somewhere in the middle of bumfuck Kentucky. That can make sense, right? So what you would do is you would actually populate. If you have this set up the way I think you do, you're probably just going to be populating. You're going to be pre-populating tiles of data around those cities in the cache. I think that's what you're trying to go for. And if you make that argument, I think I can kind of see that. But then that you get to a little bit. You might want to explain the caching mechanism a little bit better.
Okay. Now that I think about it, it does get harder, right?
Okay.
Because say a business changes something, right, or someone modifies their review, you're then going to have to go to the cache and update that, and also update it to the database.
Correct.
So
you have a write-through problem, and then which leads into what the worst-case scenario, which is. I'm asking you, by the way.
The worst-case scenario is the user seeing invalid or invalid data, right? Serving them invalid data, right?
That's not that bad, because if I recommend you, let's say, a crappy restaurant instead of a good restaurant, that's not the end of the world. What is the worst place? What's the really, really terminal situation?
The terminal in terms of caching, let me see.
What if you have power failure when you're doing a write-through? What if
I see.
What if your cache goes down?
Yeah. Yep.
And
you would have to rebuild that again. Yeah.
Yeah, to rebuild the cache, you also have when you're in the middle of writing out, you have write failure. So how do you need to restore data from backup, et cetera, et cetera. That can end up becoming a problem. So this is like probably a situation where you'd be like, oh, okay, because we have this point of failure, maybe we want to do like a consensus between shards or something like that, and then instead of being leader, we can be leaderless or something like that, right? Anyway, so I don't mind. So the general spirit of splitting this up into a bunch of services, and then you have like some kind of follower for replicas. I think that's pretty much the right way to go. I think.
Okay.
And then LRU cache. I don't mind this. I just need you to have the right reasoning for it. It's not bad. It's fine. And then the last thing would be, okay, well then how would you do the photos and stuff for the businesses? That's probably the last touch here. Let's see. Partition data, hot zones, sure. You call it the hot zones by city, good. Fine. Yeah. Oh, okay. I see. Okay. Again, this is much better than what I've seen before. I think that you would have just needed to call out the CDN for the photos of businesses and reviews. When someone takes like one of those Yelp snobs take a picture of the photo of their food and shit. You're gonna have to be able to do that and service it. You might also want to specify API in the future, but again, I don't think that you are. You're not too far off, I think. I think an interviewer might ask you to deep dive a little bit more into the schemas themselves as well, but it wouldn't be too much. Yeah. Okay. And then you might also want to put have a discussion of like load balancing by region as well, because people are not going to be yelping for stuff in SF when they live in Russia. Those are the only glaring points that I think you missed. Other than that, it's not too bad.
Okay, so by that you mean load balancer, like a load balancer by region, right?
Yeah.
Or did he say CDN? I didn't catch that.
You need both, because if you think about CDN, you do need to some way to distribute photos, right? So if I take a picture of let's say food in San Francisco, then I at least want to be able to populate my photo in San Francisco first. Or at least whatever cluster is near there, and then have that propagate over to, let's say, like I said, Russia, because it's more important that we satisfy regions first than we satisfy globally. It doesn't need to be globally in sync, because people in Russia are not going to be yelping for stuff in San Francisco, right? So that's one of the things that you need to consider. And then there's also there's that's CN, and then there's also the load balancer as well for regions. Yeah, low bounce. No, I wouldn't say low bouncer. It's more like low bounce by region, really. So then your server might just be, you might have load balancers between the same servers in the same region. So you might have, let's say, 20 servers in, let's say, San Francisco, and then you might have 5 servers in Russia that are load balanced.
I see.
Because each of these servers are homogeneous, right? All you're really doing is uploading, and you're uploading and accessing each one of the services that are homogeneous. It doesn't matter if it comes from web server 1 or 2. And let's say one of the regions goes down, you can always redirect traffic to Russia in the worst case scenario, and it should do exactly the same thing.
I see. Okay.
It's something to consider, and it's to have these weapons in the back of in your toolkit. But I think you got the main ideas down. It's just touching it up.
Okay, yeah. On the key, also I saw that you did SSL certs, auth as well. So that's some stuff that I missed as well.
It's not important that you know the security stuff, because the moment you open that can of worms, I'm literally gonna grill you on that shit, and I don't think you have enough.
Yeah.
I don't think you have enough experience in it for you to have a full-on discussion about that, but yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to comment. That I guess that comes with your experience, right? Where those would just come naturally, and you would talk about them, right, and do it in your design, right?
Both, because it's you need to be able to have seen those issues associated with security in order to be able to deal with that.
I see.
So don't worry about the SSL thing. I think it's pretty standard by now that everything is SSL secured. So it's HTTP, HTTPS, gRPC, gRPCS. I don't think it's worth having that discussion.
Yeah, and API with the token, right? That's pretty standard as well, right? So
yeah, caching, rate limiting, these are pretty standard out of the box stuff. So I think that anyone with like
okay.
two brain cells that can rub together can instantly come up with rate limiting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's another talking point I should talk about and look into. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because then someone could say, "Oh, what about spoofing locations?" I'd probably say, "Not a big deal." Like, what's the impact
Mhm.
if someone spoofs like a bunch of reviews from, Russia? It's like, is it really that big a deal? Are we gonna like have a political election crisis like we had in the United States just because someone from Russia posted a fake review for a business? Fake reviews can be
Yeah.
an issue, and that can be worth discussing at like in a few minutes, for security.
Mhm.
That can also, you can definitely
it's like
add that
they
discussion in, but it would honestly just be like a light discussion.
yeah,
Because
it's like
you
if
will-
they're pushing propaganda.
yeah, I'm pushing propaganda through Yelp. Oh my God, this Mexican restaurant was so horrible. I vote against Trump and Hillary because of it. Like, it's like that. You have to consider the whole product consequence and whatnot. It's like it's relevant to talk about, but in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to the actual interview, they want to see like you be able to handle the nitty gritty. And then shit like that is a low priority thing because it's like it's purely inconsequential. Now this is going to be a different calculus if we're handling, let's say, voting scalable voting system. That's going to be a different thing, right? So
Oh yeah.
anyway, I think that's pretty much what I got for you for that one.
Cool.
You need me to look at the other one, but I think you have a good. I think it's fine right now. I think what you have going is pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you said you didn't find the key for that one, right? So yeah, I'll look at the key for the Yelp one again and get more pointers.
Yeah, I think just compared to grokking is going to be the best thing that you can do.
Yeah, I don't think that's in grokking, and I tried to Google it and I couldn't find it. So I'll find something similar to that. So just go on that. So okay.
Okay. Yeah. I think that from what I saw here, it's really just expanding your knowledge a little bit and getting a little bit more fluent with it. I'm not too again. The deep dive through the system design might not be bad, and like slipping through DDIA, but yeah, just make sure you're like super solid on the practice because next week I'm not gonna be around because I'm gonna be at Basel conference basically on Tuesday and Thursday as well. Literally, my entire next week is like literally all conferences, so not much I can do.
Yeah, and the interview's the 22nd there. So okay.
Oh, okay. I thought it would be the 15th, but okay.
Okay, so I wrote some questions on the prep doc there.
Yeah.
It's just like saying the topics for the last week of study, right?
Yeah.
Like I have the last chapter of DP graphing, right? And graphs, since they tend to ask a lot of those questions there, right? Sure. So yeah, brush up on graphs and trees, right?
Okay.
So,
yeah, so brush up on that,
cool.
and then I see you're starting to feel slow on problems again. Push forward at least on this weekend, and then take next week off since I'm not going to be around. We're definitely increasing a little bit of the frequency of breaks, for sure. So something so there. I'm noticing. So it's either, I really want you to at least push for the next like 3 to 5 days, because I think you're on the cusp. It's like that U shape, right, where you get really slow before you get really fast. I really want you to like spend the next 5 days just really pushing on it because you'll have the week, have the break coming up.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the next 5 days, and then after the 5 days, you recommend just get off the computer, or do you like one a day, just pseudocode?
I would say, yeah. So I would say, get off the computer. I think don't think about it too much, because at this point it should be instinct, right? So if I look at the calendar, it's gonna be between the 14th, 15th, 17th. Your interview's the 22nd, right?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, so if I skip next week, then you're not gonna be able. Then we're not gonna do anything until the 20. Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, but I think I have a good foot here on what to study, right, and just keep this whole idea of flow going, right? And I also been looking at past videos of your past clients, right? Like looking at the last 2 or 3, and those are definitely helping as well.
Yeah. So the last 2 or 3. So Russell did an L4 interview, although I didn't prep him as well as I could have, because it was a little bit halfway in between, right? We spent a lot of time trying to prep for the L4 interview, but we didn't quite make it. But I think the spirit of what was done there is good. I think Valid, if you look at the system design reviews that I did for his like Tesla and Lyft interviews, I think that's going to be very good. I think those are on my channel.
That's on YouTube, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
so if you look at like the system design, system design reviews or whatever, there should be one for Tesla and Lyft. Yeah, I really regret like not recording his sessions actually and streaming them. I wish I kind of did this sooner. Same with
Mm-hmm.
Pablo. I feel like those were like the best ones I ever did, and ever since then I've been trying to chase that. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If you look at like at
Cool,
least the
man.
lead ones, then those are the ones that I want you to look at for system design.
Okay, for
Everyone
sure,
else,
man.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah. Russell's gonna be a good one to look at for the coding interview. For data structure and algorithms, he has a pretty good handle of
Uh-huh.
these things. Um, M not so much, and neither. M is okay, I think. Matthias is okay actually. J, I don't know. J's kind of iffy a little bit, but I would say probably put Matthias and Russell on the top of the list for data structure and algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
cool.
basically what I'm going to recommend you do. Again, all this is just really for me pointing out your mistakes. There's not really much else I can do at this point. We've done like so many
Yeah.
problems, and all that stuff is for you to like practice the right things. All right.
Just get to the last mile, basically. So.
Yeah, last mile. Just push hard for the last 5 days, then you'll get the break, and then you'll be able to head into Google. So,
Awesome.
if you
Awesome.
want a coaching session, we can do one probably on the 21st.
Okay. No, man, I think I'm good because I'm trying to, because it is a little mentally taxing. So yeah, I should get some rest. So yeah, it should be fine.
All right. Yeah, I think you're in pretty good shape. Just we just make that jump, and then we're golden. So,
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome. Cool.
all right, cool, man.
Awesome. Thanks,
Yep.
man.
All right, talk to you
Alright,
later,
see ya.
and good luck on the interviews.
All right.
Alright,
Thanks.
later.
Bye.
All right, any final questions from the crowd? I'm actually gonna. I guess I'll turn off the stream since I'm seeing 0 concurrent viewers. So thank you all for joining me. I guess this will be the last stream for the year. There's not really too much else. His interview is on the 22nd, so hopefully that goes well. If we get news back about his Google interview, we'll open up the stream and talk about it. Until then, thank you all for joining me. Join me on my Discord. Links in the description down below. If you want coaching, you can book me for interview coaching at echantech.com. Other than that, thank you all for joining me, and I'll see y'all next time.